Chapter 56, Silver-Eyed Golden-Feathered Hawk. Translator, CK Talon. Editor, CK Talon. With the silver-winged flying ant's wings, Zhou Wen flew directly above the lotus pond to battle the blood-colored Buddha heart lotus. Although he died plenty of times, it wasn't without return. Zhou Wen was rather familiar with the few moves available to the blood-colored Buddha heart lotus, knowledge he had gained from repeated deaths. Although he was temporarily unable to slay it, he knew of a way to kill it. He just wasn't powerful enough, thus preventing him from actualizing his strategies. Zhou Wen, quickly get up. It's great that we matriculated early. Otherwise, we would have missed a great show. Li Xuan called him on the phone early in the morning. What great show? Zhou Wen put down the phone and stretched before asking. Didn't I mention that the legendary stage students are purchasing powerful companion beasts capable of flight? They plan on slaying the blood-colored Buddha heart lotus today. Let's head over to take a look, Li Xuan suggested. All right. Zhou Wen was also interested in watching battles at the legendary stage. He got out of bed, washed up, and headed out, meeting Li Xuan at the entrance of the Four Seasons garden. Li Xuan had clearly been waiting for a while, pulling him to head for Ancient Inlet the moment he saw Zhou Wen come out. As they ran, he said, "Quick. We'll miss the show if we are late." Zhou Wen learned from Li Xuan that the person who planned on killing the blood-colored Buddha heart lotus was a famous third-year senior in Sunset College, Yang Lai. He was a mighty figure who had advanced to the legendary stage. Apparently, he had spent a large sum of money buying legendary companion eggs and had tried means to speed up the incubation in order to slay the blood-colored Buddha heart lotus. As soon as that was done, he rushed for the lotus pond. After the two entered underground Buddha City, they rushed to the lotus pond, where there were many students surrounding the pond. They had clearly heard the news and were here to watch Yang Lai battle the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. Just as the duo arrived, a man ran over. "Brother Xuan, Brother Wen. Shu Miantu, you also applied for Sunset College." Zhou Wen recognized the person. Shu Miantu scratched his head in embarrassment, seemingly unable to verbalize his reasons. By the side, Li Xuan scolded him in a bemused state, "Dude, just say it. It's not like it's something disgraceful. In fact, Shu Miantu should have been matriculated last year. However, to help me in the examination, he deferred his application to Sunset College by 1 year." Shu Miantu chuckled and said, "A genius like Brother Xuan didn't even need my help. I was just ignorant." Just as the trio began having a conversation, they heard an uproar. "And Jing's here. And Jing from the Yin family? Who else could it be? Tisk, she indeed lives up to the rumors. She's really a beauty. I heard that she advanced to the legendary stage at the age of 13. She's extremely talented and she comes from a formidable family. She has the money, the talent, and the looks. It's like the creator favored her when creating her." Zhou Wen traced the student's gaze and looked over. Indeed, he saw Jing arriving on a white horse. However, it didn't have any wings, so it wasn't a white-winged flying horse. Yang Lai, who had been surrounded by people, walked over to Jing. This gave Zhou Wen a chance to see him. He stood at more than 1.80 meters. His sword-like brows and starry eyes made him look sharp. Beside him was a black leopard with one eye, making it look extremely odd. "And Jing, you came just in time. Regardless of what drops today, when I slay the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus, I'll be giving it to you as a matriculation gift," Yang Lai said with a spirited look. Many students revealed a teasing smile when they heard him. It was obvious that Yang Lai was expressing his interest in Jing. However, Li Xuan said in contempt, "Although the Yang family is rather famous in Luang, it's not of the upper class. Besides, they have many businesses that rely on the Yin family's power in Luang. This punk is probably up to no good by expressing his interest in Jing. However, it's probably in vain. No matter how blind the Yin family is, they wouldn't fancy the Yang family." "Brother Xuan, I believe you are the only one qualified to be with Jing in all of Luang," Shu Miantu said with a chuckle. Li Xuan spat at that thought and said, "Jing is an arrogant woman. She also has a bad temper. That cold demeanor of hers isn't fun at all, so it's useless no matter how beautiful she is. Only an idiot will marry a woman like her." With that said, Li Xuan glanced at Zhou Wen and said with a mysterious, furtive smile, "Besides, I understand the rationale of not hitting on a friend's sister." Zhou Wen couldn't be bothered to refute and he pretended not to hear it. Shu Miantu had no idea of Zhou Wen's relationship with the Yin family, so he failed to understand what Li Xuan meant. Puzzled, he looked at them blankly. Jing sat on the white horse with no intention of getting off. She said in a calm tone, "I don't need any gifts. Besides, you won't be able to slay the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus either." Yang Lai wasn't angry when he heard that. Instead, he guffawed and said, "Then let's have a bet. Why don't you accept my present if I succeed in slaying the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus?" "No," Jing replied without any hesitation. "You're afraid of losing?" Yang Lai said provocatively. "You won't be able to slay the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus, so the bet can't even be established. There's no need for it." After Jing said that, she rode the white horse to the side of the lotus pond. Yang Lai felt embarrassed, but due to her extremely special identity, he didn't dare flare up at her. "All right, I'll show you that I'm capable of slaying the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus," Yang Lai said. He spread his arms and two companion beasts were summoned out by him. They were two silver-eyed golden-feathered hawks, but they were much larger than the typical hawk. Their wingspans reached more than 10 meters, and with a flap, they shot out like a golden beam of light. They then spiraled above the lotus pond like two golden clouds. A silver-eyed golden-feathered hawk swooped down and extended its claws like a phantom, instantly grabbing a Buddha heart lotus. Silver-eyed golden-feathered hawk. And there's two of them. This fellow sure is willing to make the investment. Li Xuan curled his lips and said. Silver-eyed golden-feathered hawks were rare legendary companion beasts. They were only found in the dimensional zones of the Heavenly Lake of the Heavenly Mountain. However, there were many dimensional zones in the Heavenly Mountain's vicinity, so it wasn't easy to reach the Heavenly Lake itself. Furthermore, silver-eyed golden-feathered hawks were rare in number. They also lived on cliffs, making it difficult to kill them and have a companion egg drop. If one's luck wasn't good, even experts at the epic stage would return empty-handed. Seeing the students look at his pair of silver-eyed golden-feathered hawks in envy, Yang Lai felt slightly pleased with himself. Without any hesitation, he ordered the hawks to attack the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. When they rushed at the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus from the flanks, the latter sensed the threat and shot out 20 to 30 blood-colored lotus seeds that hurtled towards the two hawks. As the blood-colored lotus seeds were about to hit the hawks, they showed no intention of dodging. They continued flying forward and released a golden glow over their feathers as though they were emitting light themselves. Boom. Boom. When the blood-colored lotus seeds exploded on the golden feathers and splattered into bloody water, they rolled off as if the golden feathers were non-stick. The hawks weren't damaged at all. Article 57 of 1597. As expected of silver-eyed golden-feathered hawks. They are truly extraordinary. It appears this blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus will likely be slain by Yang Lai, Li Xuan said. Zhou Wen shook his head and whispered, not necessarily. The blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus can't be slain by just two silver-eyed golden-feathered hawks. Zhou Wen's research on the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus was nothing these students could compare with. He was acutely aware of how powerful the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus was. It was impossible to slay it with just two legendary companion beasts capable of flight. Perhaps intentionally or unintentionally, and Jing happened to shoot Zhou Wen a look when he said those words. Li Xuan was just about to ask why when the lotus pond experienced an anomaly. One of the silver-eyed golden-feathered hawk rushed right in front of the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus and was swallowed by the latter's petals that opened like a gaping mouth. Just as the other silver-eyed golden-feathered hawk was about to touch the petals with its talons that were glimmering in gold light, the blood patterns on the petals a sitting Buddha shot out beams of sanguine light. What seemed like a fragile petal remained undamaged after clashing with the hawk's talons. When the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus opened its petals again, the silver-eyed golden-feathered hawk which had been devoured was reduced to bone. Furthermore, the bones were rapidly melting. The students watching this battle gasped. It was shocking that the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus could devour the legendary silver-eyed golden-feathered hawk and instantly corrode its bones. It even managed to resist the golden halo talons of the silver-eyed golden-feathered hawk, a primordial energy skill. It was quite shocking. Flower-type dimensional creatures typically were rather weak in constitution. Amongst dimensional creatures of the same stage, their constitution usually lined the bottom. However, the fact that this blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus was able to withstand a powerful legendary primordial energy skill like golden halo talons made it terrifying. It overturned the average person's understanding of flower-type creatures. Yang Lai's expression was livid. He didn't dare order his silver-eyed golden-feathered hawk to continue attacking as he summoned the surviving one back. All the students looked at the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus with fear and greed. It clearly had more than one primordial energy skill. If it dropped as a companion beast, they could possess a companion beast with more than one primordial energy skill. However, the chances of companion beasts dropping were low to begin with. Furthermore, with Yang Lai's two silver-eyed golden-feathered hawks suffering a defeat, it meant that no student could currently kill it. How did you know that the two hawks weren't a match for the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus? Only then did Li Xuan have the chance to ask the question that was eating at him. It was obvious to the eye. Zhou Wen shrugged, preparing to leave the area. It was unlikely that the students could kill the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus anytime soon. This lotus flower was probably a top existence among legendary creatures. Unless one had even more powerful companion beasts or was capable of targeting its weak points, even a siege against it wouldn't be of much use. Brother Wen, since you were able to tell that the hawks weren't the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus's match, doesn't that mean that you have the means to kill it? Shu Miantu's eyes lit up as he asked Zhou Wen. Shu Miantu wasn't much to speak of. He wasn't a bad man either, but he was someone who shot his mouth off. He hadn't suppressed his voice, allowing people around them to hear him. Yang Lai was already in a bad mood, so when he heard Shu Miantu, he turned his head and saw that it was Li Xuan, Shu Miantu, and an unfamiliar youth. He immediately felt even more infuriated. Li Xuan was well known to be a foppish person in Luong. Together with an adopted son of the Li family, Shu Miantu, Yang Lai naturally knew how much they amounted to. It could even be said that he viewed them with contempt. Yang Lai often imagined that if he were Li Xuan and had all the resources of the Li family, he would be able to achieve so much more. Shu Miantu's unintentional question sounded like a mockery to Yang Lai. To be able to tell at a glance that the hawks aren't the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus's match. Not a bad eye. Might I know how you should be addressed? Yang Lai held back his anger and asked Zhou Wen as he sized him up. Although he was angry, he wasn't willing to offend students with significant backing. After all, the students of Sunset College were the elites of East District. Many of them had strong backers. Zhou Wen didn't say a word, but Xu Mian drummed up support for him. Zhou Wen got second in the combat test of Guide City. He's the #1 genius of Guide High School. He's Brother Xuan's buddy. Xu Mian didn't brag emptily but was trying to use this opportunity to make Zhou Wen known to all, making students of Sunset College know of his existence. This brought about plenty of benefits. In the future, when they formed teams to enter dimensional zones to complete the missions handed out by the school, other strong students would be willing to team up with Zhou Wen. Otherwise, if Zhou Wen was unknown to everyone, how would those strong students be willing to team up with him? It was already a very common way of societal thinking for the strong to ally together. However, those who heard Xu Mian looked at him and Zhou Wen with a look of mockery. It wasn't only Yang Lai, but all the other students as well. Many students in Sunset College had the accolades of being the #1 genius of so-and-so high school or first in the combat test of so-and-so city. Furthermore, Zhou Wen had only gotten second place. Others weren't even interested in who got first place, much less second place. If it were first place in places like Beijing, people might have paid some attention. However, a tiny city like Guide City wasn't worth paying any attention to. When Yang Lai heard that Zhou Wen had come in second at the Guide City's combat test, he knew that Zhou Wen likely didn't have much of a background. Otherwise, he would have obtained first place. Only those who obtained the first place of a city could receive certain privileges and resources from the Sunset College. This was also one of the reasons why Li Xuan needed to get first. Second place. That's pretty impressive, Yang Lai quipped. In that case, I would like to know what amazing strategy you have to kill that blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. The other students could naturally tell that Yang Lai was being sarcastic. They were freshmen and only at the mortal stage. They weren't even close to the legendary stage, so it was obvious that they didn't have the qualifications to kill top legendary creatures like the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. Xu Mian couldn't tolerate the treatment as he curled his lips and said in disdain, "Are you a fool or do you think of us as fools? Why should we tell you the strategy we've come up with?" Ever since the battle at Guide Ancient City, Xu Mian was truly impressed with Zhou Wen. He strongly believed that Zhou Wen had the means to kill the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. Since it was a given, he naturally wouldn't tell others of the strategy. But his words only amused Yang Lai. "All right. There's no need to tell me. Don't you have the strategy? Isn't being second in Guide City impressive? Fine then, slay the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. Please broaden our horizons." Article 58 of 1597. Xu Mian didn't dare make the decision as he cast his gaze at Zhou Wen. There was a fervent look of encouragement in it. Zhou Wen could only smile wryly in secret. Xu Mian had thought too highly of him. He didn't have the strength to kill the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus at present. All he could do was slightly shake his head at Xu Mian. However, Xu Mian had full confidence in him. Believing that Zhou Wen was only being humble, he continued encouraging him. "Brother Wen, there's no need to be overly humble in a place like Sunset College. You have to showcase your absolute strength. This will give you the opportunity to obtain more resources." Zhou Wen felt a little depressed. He did wish to slay the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus, but he really wasn't capable of doing so at present. Seeing Zhou Wen show a stumped look, Yang Lai sneered and said, "One needs to have the strength to actually showcase it. Otherwise, they will only be a joke." After saying that, Yang Lai ignored Xu Mian and turned to walk to Jing. From Yang Lai's point of view, he would only disgrace himself if he continued embroiling himself with Xu Mian, Li Xuan, and Zhou Wen. Although Xu Mian didn't wish to let it go, he was helpless when he saw Zhou Wen remain silent. All he could do was watch the supercilious look Yang Lai had while turning around. Yang Lai came in front of Jing and said in a very gentlemanly manner, "I lost the bet. If you have anything you need me to do, I'll definitely give my all. However, I'm curious why you knew that the silver-eyed golden feathered hawks weren't the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus's match. Could it be that you've already fought it before?" First, I'd said that the bet was completely meaningless. Neither do I have anything I need you to do. I am equally capable of doing what you are capable of. If I can't do it, it only makes it impossible for you to do it. Second, those who are truly in the know do not need to engage in a fight to know who's stronger. Jing wore a calm look, but every word she said was biting. Zhou Wen suspected that with her vicious tongue, she might have been beaten up by many if she hadn't been born into the Yin family. Indeed, Yang Lai wore a rather embarrassed look. His face oscillated between blue and white. He was a student who wasn't even 20 years old, so he wasn't thick-skinned enough. Well said. Xu Mian took this opportunity and cheered. This only made Yang Lai glare at him hatefully. Jing ignored him and rode her white horse, brushing past Yang Lai's shoulder. She headed for Zhou Wen. "Your sister is coming over," Li Xuan whispered as he nudged Zhou Wen with his elbow. Zhou Wen shook his head, gesturing to Li Xuan to cut the nonsense. However, before he could say a thing, Jing had already arrived in front of him. When Yang Lai and the other students saw Jing standing in front of Zhou Wen, all of them cast their gazes over, curious as to what she wanted. Jing stared into Zhou Wen's eyes and asked, "Do you have the confidence in slaying the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus?" "It definitely won't be a problem. Jing, let's work together to slay this blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus. Brother Wen will definitely not let you down." Shu Miantu didn't know the relationship between Jing and Zhou Wen. Imagining that Jing was interested in Zhou Wen, he believed that Zhou Wen might be able to sweep her off her feet if he did well. Furthermore, this beauty's family was extraordinary. She was the daughter of Luong's and family. She was practically a princess in Luong. "Is that right? Brother Wen?" Shu Miantu nudged Zhou Wen as he winked at him while his back was facing Jing. His meaning was clear, he wanted Zhou Wen to do a good job. Although Zhou Wen knew that Shu Miantu had good intentions, he really couldn't do it. All he wanted was to game in peace, and he had no intention of stealing the limelight here. Involving himself with Jing was the last thing he wished to do. "You really have wild ideas. If Jing really wants to kill the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus, would you even have a chance?" Yang Lai already detested Shu Miantu, so he couldn't help but shoot off a snide remark. He vented all the pent-up anger he had thanks to Jing on Shu Miantu. A dog is a dog. It only knows how to threaten others thanks to its master. However, you have to at least take a good look. Is that really your master? When Yang Lai said that, not only did the expression on Shu Miantu's face change, even Li Xuan and Zhou Wen were no exception. Li Xuan coldly said, "Yang Lai, who did you say was the dog? I dare you to say it again." Yang Lai sneered and said, "Who in Luong City doesn't know that your patriarch enjoys adopting sons? To put it nicely, it's an adopted son, but at the core of the matter, it's just a lapdog reared by your Li family. This is known by all, so what did I say wrong?" The look in Li Xuan's chilled. Just as he was about to flare up, he was held back by Shu Miantu. Surprisingly, Shu Miantu wasn't angry. He grinned at Yang Lai and said, "That's right. I'm a dog of the Li family. I even feel proud and honored being the Li family's dog. The Li family is my benefactor and I've benefited from them. It's not like someone who yearns to be the dog of the Yin family, but they can't even be bothered to spare him a glance. Something that's worse than a dog isn't worth mentioning." Shu Miantu's words hit Yang Lai where it hurt. It was true that the Yang family was trying to cozy up with the Yin family, but the Yin family's attitude was rather vague. It had never truly accepted the Yang family. Therefore, Yang Lai's expression changed drastically once he heard that. His face was extremely livid. His eyes stared viciously at Shu Miantu as a look of killing intent flashed through them. "Does a dog of the Li family only know how to bark? If you're as impressive as you say you are, slay the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus, otherwise, quit the barking," Yang Lai said with a cold look. If they weren't in public, he would have immediately taken action and slaughtered Shu Miantu. Shu Miantu was about to snap back when he felt a hand on his shoulder. Then, he heard Zhou Wen whisper, "If you wish to kill the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus, we can do it together." "Brother Wen, really?" Shu Miantu was delighted as he hurriedly asked. Zhou Wen nodded slightly and said seriously, "As long as you aren't afraid of sacrificing your companion beast." Shu Miantu had started the conflict because of Zhou Wen and Yang Lai, so naturally, he couldn't sit idly as Shu Miantu was being ridiculed by Yang Lai. However, his claim of being able to kill the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus wasn't just a spur of the moment. Zhou Wen really couldn't kill the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus in-game, but this wasn't the game. He didn't need to face it alone, and he still had Shu Miantu and Li Xuan to help him. Zhou Wen had carefully run through the companion beasts they possessed. If they controlled them well and no mistakes happened, he believed he could slay the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus based on his understanding of it. "There's nothing to be afraid of. Let's do it," Shu Miantu turned to say to Yang Lai. "Heard that, Yang? We'll be slaying it right now. Open your eyes and watch it well. Don't blame us for not teaching you." "I'm looking forward to it," Yang Lai said with a sneer. From his point of view, it was fool's talk that the trio could kill the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus. Even two silver-eyed golden-feathered hawks weren't a match for it, so it would be ridiculous if 3 freshmen at the mortal stage could slay it. Article 59 of 1597. Li Xuan and Zhou Wen were amongst the first group of people who had discovered the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus. Zhou Wen had been thinking up a strategy to slay it in-game. Likewise, Li Xuan hadn't been slacking off either. He had also tried all kinds of means to obtain legendary companion beasts capable of flight, hoping to slay the blood-patterned Buddha Heart Lotus. However, legendary companion beasts capable of flight were rare. Those with considerable strength weren't easily acquired. Furthermore, Li Xuan was only at the mortal stage, so the legendary companion beasts he incubated needed more time and effort than those at the legendary stage. At this point in time, Li Xuan had only incubated a legendary skyconch. Shu Miantu was also at the mortal stage. He didn't have the invincible Kannate divine art, so he wasn't capable of incubating a legendary companion beast. However, he had always been Li Xuan's right-hand man. He had also contributed when Zhang Hao betrayed Li Xuan. Therefore, Li Xuan had gotten a mortal dragon-scaled turtle companion egg and given it to him. Although it was only at the mortal stage, it lived in Black Dragon Pool, so it had extremely high resistance against corrosive liquids. Li Xuan had prepared a dragon-scaled turtle to kill the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus, so it was perfect to have Shu Mian to control it. Zhou Wen knew of this, so after taking into account all the companion beasts they had, he had the confidence that the three of them combined could kill it. To kill the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus, apart from letting our companion beasts engage in battle, we will need to enter the lotus pond as well. Only then will we have 100% chance of killing it. Are you certain that you want to enter? Zhou Wen looked at Shu Miantu and Li Xuan, confirming with them with great solemnity. Buddha needs incense and a man needs self-respect. I'm bent on killing that blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus, Shu Miantu said loudly. Zhou Wen, how confident are you? Li Xuan asked Zhou Wen with a serious look. Follow my instructions 100%. However, there mustn't be any mistakes in our cooperation, or it will be very dangerous. It's especially so for Miantu, who has to control the dragon-scaled turtle. You mustn't make any mistakes or both you and I will be in grave danger, Zhou Wen said as he looked at Shu Miantu. Don't worry. I'll make sure nothing happens to you even if I were to die, Shu Miantu said as he slapped his chest. All right. Let's do it, Li Xuan locked eyes with Zhou Wen and said with a nod. Then let's begin. Listen to my every command. Miantu, release your dragon-scaled turtle, Zhou Wen softly informed the other two of his plan. The trio made their own preparations. Shu Miantu released the dragon-scaled turtle, and a turtle the size of a tiny boat appeared on the lotus pond. Not only did it have a turtle shell, but it also had black scales on its shell, making it look very odd. The average companion beast would immediately be reduced to bone upon contact with the lotus pond's water. Yet, this dragon-scaled turtle was completely fine. It floated in the lotus pond like a tiny black boat. Shu Miantu and Li Xuan jumped onto the turtle's back. Zhou Wen was about to jump onto it when he suddenly heard a cold, clear voice. Good intentions might not result in good outcomes. At times, good intentions might even kill. Zhou Wen turned his head and looked over to see Yin Jing sitting on her white horse with a cold expression. She had been the one who had said that sentence. Zhou Wen shot a look at her and smiled before jumping on the turtle's back. The dragon-scaled turtle waded through the lake and the green lotus leaves, rapidly approaching the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. When it was nearly 20 meters from the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus, Zhou Wen got Shu Miantu to stop the dragon-scaled turtle. Miantu, stay here to wait for us. Make sure to constantly take note of Li Xuan's landing points. Follow the plan. Make sure nothing goes wrong, Zhou Wen told Shu Miantu again. Brother Wen, don't worry. As long as I'm not dead, I guarantee you that nothing bad will happen to the two of you, Shu Miantu guaranteed with a slap of his chest. Okay. Zhou Wen nodded and looked at Li Xuan. Act according to plan. After uttering a confirmation, Li Xuan summoned his legendary companion beast, the sky conch. The sky conch resembled a conch that was found in the sea, but it had a pair of wings. Its body was about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. It was extremely stable while flying in midair. Although it flew very slowly, it was good at being able to glide in the sky for long periods of time without needing to land on the ground to continue its flight. Legendary sky conch. How is it possible? Isn't Li Xuan at the mortal stage? How is it possible for him to incubate a sky conch? One of the students on the bank immediately recognized the sky conch and couldn't help but exclaim. Aren't you making too much of a fuss? Li Xuan chuckled as he summoned Black Knight and Jade-Eyed White Tiger. Black Knight transformed into an armor that encased Li Xuan's body. As for the Jade-Eyed White Tiger, it turned into a tiger soul saber. Its cold glimmers stirred one's soul. Embedded in the saber's handle was a gem resembling a tiger's eye. Black Knight and Jade-Eyed White Tiger. They are both legendary companion beasts. Heavens! Isn't Li Xuan at the mortal stage? What's going on? Is this fellow really that prodigal son of the Li family? The students widened their eyes as they looked at him in disbelief. Li Xuan felt a little pleased with himself. Wearing the black armor and holding the tiger soul saber while riding a sky conch, he flew towards the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus with tremendous pomp. Zhou Wen seemed to pale in comparison. He summoned the mutated skeleton ant and stood on its back without any weapons or armor. The mutated skeleton ant waded across the water surface to another side of the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. Miantu, pay attention to Li Xuan more. Make sure he doesn't fall into the water, Zhou Wen looked at Shu Miantu urging him again. Don't worry, Brother Wen, Shu Miantu said with a slap on his chest. Zhou Wen didn't speak further. The mutated skeleton ant and sky conch closed in on the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus from both sides. With Li Xuan's speed faster than Zhou Wen's, the latter had apparently deliberately stayed a little behind. Boom. Boom. More than 10 blood-colored lotus seeds shot at Li Xuan, instantly blanketing him and the sky conch, sealing off all routes of retreat. With a loud roar, Li Xuan slashed the tiger soul saber at the blood-colored lotus seeds. The saber was so fast that the seeds didn't explode when they were halved. The seed only exploded when both halves had flown out further than a meter. Is that really the Li family's foppish third young master Li Xuan? Yang Lai watched in astonishment as Li Xuan showed his prowess. He sliced through all the blood-colored lotus seeds and charged at the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus. And while Li Xuan was handling the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus's attacks, Zhou Wen took the chance to order the mutated skeleton ant to rush towards the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus at full speed. When he was less than 3 meters from the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus, Zhou Wen ordered the mutated skeleton ant to jump. And it was at this moment that the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus spread open its petals in a bid to devour the mutated skeleton ant. If the latter had been one bit slower, Zhou Wen and the mutated skeleton ant would have been devoured. Right now. Zhou Wen roared. Li Xuan didn't hesitate to jump from the sky conch, slashing down at the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus with 2 hands clasping the saber. A blinding white saber beam blasted out of the tiger soul saber, instantly cleaving the blood-patterned Buddha heart lotus's petals. The petals shot out a red luster that attempted to resist the tiger soul saber's strike. However, the saber beam was just too sharp. Combined with Li Xuan's saber-type primordial energy skill, the tiger soul saber sliced through the petals. The petal was cleaved open, revealing the black lotus receptacle. Crouching on it was a pitch-black toad covered in black venomous warts. It opened its mouth and spat a mouthful of venom at Li Xuan. Article 60 of 1597. Li Xuan's strength was used up by the time his cleave tore through the Buddha-patterned flower petals. Furthermore, he wasn't able to dodge in midair. The sky conch was too slow at flying, making it unable to keep up with Li Xuan. It was still gliding at a relatively high altitude and the direction in which it was heading wasn't towards Li Xuan. Suddenly a fist appeared beneath Li Xuan's feet, striking his soles. Zhou Wen had come flying over. Li Xuan exerted strength in his feet as he stepped onto Zhou Wen's fists and used this as an impetus to soar high into the sky. Zhou Wen ended up plummeting rapidly, allowing them to dodge the toad's venomous shot. Li Xuan used his momentum to leap onto the lotus receptacle and cleave down at the venomous toad's head. After the saber beam flashed by, Li Xuan flew back in retreat, jumping out of the lotus receptacle. Bang! The venomous toad exploded like a bomb, splattering venomous liquid in every direction like flying arrows, covering a massive region. Li Xuan was already unable to dodge the attack while in midair, but the sky conch which had been constantly in the sky arrived in the nick of time, putting its body in between Li Xuan and the venomous liquid. Zhou Wen also landed on the mutated skeleton ant before leaping up once again, jumping back tens of feet to dodge the range of the venom splash. The venom was extremely terrifying. The sky conch's body was immediately corroded like snow touching ember. With a tragic cry, it fell straight into the pond. When Zhou Wen landed, the mutated skeleton ant had already stopped beneath his feet. On the contrary, Li Xuan was plummeting straight into the pond without having any place to land his feet. The dragon-scaled turtle, which was meant to catch Li Xuan, was still a distance from Li Xuan under Shu Miantu's flustered commandeering. It was apparent that he wasn't going to arrive in time. Zhou Wen had just landed on the mutated skeleton ant and it was already too late for him to command it to rush over when he saw this scene. He stomped on the mutated skeleton ant and flew across the pond for Li Xuan, pulling him up just as his back was about to touch the water. However, Zhou Wen's leap was ultimately limited. He soon began falling. Miantu, what are you waiting for? Quick, catch us. Li Xuan, who had been pulled up by Zhou Wen, shouted at the nearby Shu Miantu. Shu Miantu watched Zhou Wen and Li Xuan fall from about 3 to 4 meters away. He was likely to able to reach the two of them if he extended his arms while getting the dragon-scaled turtle to speed up. However, he stood there motionless. He clenched his teeth in silence as his forehead's veins throbbed. Ultimately, he chose not to do a thing. Shu Miantu, why? Li Xuan wore a grimace. At this stage, it was already obvious to him that Shu Miantu had deliberately thrown him and Zhou Wen into a trap. From the initial provoking of Yang Lai to turning a blind eye to their peril, everything was a deliberate ruse by Shu Miantu. The only person who was capable of doing this had to win the trust of Li Xuan and to know everything about him, Shu Miantu. However, Li Xuan could do nothing. All he could do was stare intently at Shu Miantu as the duo were on the brink of falling into the pond. There were exclamations on the bank. After all, they were still students. Even if they didn't like Zhou Wen or Li Xuan, none of them wished them dead. With Li Xuan and Zhou Wen about to fall into the pond, Shu Miantu's face read, I had no choice. Don't blame me. Am I really such a failure as a friend? Li Xuan, who had been staring at him, could read his lips. He couldn't help but feel a dreary sadness. The people he thought were his friends Zhang Hao and Shu Miantu had both betrayed him. It left him downhearted. Just as Zhou Wen and Li Xuan were about to fall into the water, a white and silver beam shimmered above the lotus pond. Silver light swirled behind Zhou Wen as 4 transparent wings appeared behind him. They were rapidly flapping as they pulled him and Li Xuan up, allowing them to escape certain doom. Impossible. How do you have a companion beast capable of flight? Shu Miantu looked at the flying Zhou Wen, feeling alarmed and afraid. His expression was distorted beyond description. With Li Xuan in tow, Zhou Wen landed on the dragon-scaled turtle's back. He looked at Shu Miantu and said, I kept giving you an opportunity, but unfortunately, you still did. Have you always suspected me? So you deliberately hid the fact that you own a companion beast capable of flight. Shu Miantu stared at Zhou Wen in alarm and anger. If it weren't the case, how would I be able to test if you really treat me as a friend? Zhou Wen said indifferently. I'm cool-natured and do not know how to be nice to others, so when others are nice to me, I suspect if they have any ulterior motives. Although I also wish that you really had treated me as a friend, the facts have unfortunately proven that this world is as cruel as I imagined. Having said that, Zhou Wen glanced to the side of the lotus pond. He saw a beautiful girl floating in the sky with a pair of pure white wings. This beautiful and holy beast was shockingly the legendary angel companion beast. This angel companion beast had flown over and across the lotus pond almost at the same time that Zhou Wen had summoned the silver-winged flying ant. Thank you. Zhou Wen looked at Jing riding the white horse's back. Zhou Wen had understood Jing's warning. He had just feigned ignorance to test Xu Miantu. At the instant the angel companion beast appeared, even if Zhou Wen didn't like Jing as a person, he felt that he needed to thank her. I was afraid you wouldn't die and wanted to make your death a clean one. From the looks of it, I don't have an opportunity, Jing said with a deadpan expression as she reached out her hand to withdraw her angel companion beast. She then rode the white horse away. Xu Miantu, give me a reason to let you live, Li Xuan said to him with a cold glare. Brother Xuan, I'm sorry. I was really forced. I was forced by your brother. Please spare me, Xu Miantu plopped to his knees as he hugged Li Xuan's legs to beg for mercy. You've once risked your life for me. I can choose not to take your life, but you tried not only to harm me but Zhou Wen as well. Your life isn't enough to atone 2 lives. Li Xuan kicked Xu Miantu away and turned around. With his back facing Xu Miantu, he said, Scram. If you can leave Luang alive, I'll spare your life. Xu Miantu wore a livid expression. He was from the Li family and knew what it was capable of. As long as Li Xuan was unwilling to spare him, there was no way he could live Luang alive. In his despair, a look of hatred flashed in Xu Miantu's eyes. He pounced at Li Xuan with all his might, roaring with a ferocious look. Then let's die together. Just as Xu Miantu was about to pounce on Li Xuan, the latter took a sidestep to dodge him as though he had eyes on his back. Unable to stop himself, Xu Miantu fell into the lotus pond. Ah! Xu Miantu struggled and cried in the water. His flesh was corroded as bloody bubbles emerged. It looked extremely tragic and horrifying. Article 61 of 1597.